Alright, here we go, Algebra 2. 6.5, solving square root and other radical roots. Okay, now we're back to solving for x. Okay, before we were just combining terms and all that kind of stuff, looking at radical and exponential form, or rational form. Now we want to look at solving for x again, something we've been doing here all along. Our essential question is, how do you solve radical equations? Okay, we've solved linear, we've solved quadratics, absolute values, all different types. Now we want to look at radicals, ones that involve the square root symbol in it, okay, some root of it. And just like we've been doing, we isolate the radical, we get it by itself on one side or the other. Square both sides or take it to whatever root it happens to be, okay, and then solve for x just like we have been. Let everything that we've been doing kind of take over, okay. So when we look at here, first thing we want to do here is subtract the 5. Remember, we want to isolate the radical. So we got to get rid of this. So I'm going to rewrite that over here. So what I have is the square root of 3x plus 4 equal to 5. Okay? So I've isolated the radical. It's by itself now on one side. How do you get rid of the square root? You square it. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. Okay? And what's on this side? Just the 5. So when you square a square root, you get just what's inside. 5 squared is 25. And then just solve. It's a linear now. You got first x to the first power. So do what you've been doing since middle school. Okay? 3x equals 21. Divide out the 3. X is equal to 7. Okay? Does it work? Is it extraneous? Remember, extraneous means you did it all right, but when you plugged it back in, it didn't work. Plug it back in. 3 times 7 is 21 plus 4 is 25. The square root is 5. What's 5 plus 5? 10. So it checks. Okay? Real simple, easy. You know you did it right. Okay? Let's kick it up a notch here. Got to isolate this. I got to subtract the 1 over first. Now it's to the 5th root. And this is raised to the 3rd power in here. Divide out the 3. And I'm going to rewrite this now. This is x plus 1 to the 3/5 power, just applying what we did in the last section. 24 divided by 3 is 8. Okay? Anybody see what I did there? 3rd power, 5th root, 3/5. Now, how do you get rid of that? How did we get rid of the square root? We squared it. Okay? So what we end up doing is you end up multiplying by the reciprocal. Tell you what, I'm going to write that a little smaller so I can get that in there. This is 3/5. Okay? So I'm going to multiply it by its reciprocal, 5/3. Why? Because I get 15 over 15. I get x to the 1st power. You're about due for a new red pen here. So that gives me to the 1st power, so I just get x plus 1. Just like what I did. Remember, square root is the same as x to the 1/2. Okay, when you multiply it by 2, 1/2 times 2 is 1. So you multiply by the reciprocal here. Okay, that's important right there. And remember this over here, can you take the cube root of 8? Yep, it's 2, right? And then we'll raise that to the 5th power, so 2 to the 5th power is 32. Subtract your 1 over, x is 31. Does it work? 31 plus 1 is 32. The 5th root of 32 is 2, raised to the 3rd power is 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, 3 times 8 is 24, plus 1 is 25. So it checks. Okay? Here we go. Add over the 5. So I get the square root of x plus 7 equals x plus 5. Okay? How do we get rid of that square root symbol? Remember, this is the same as being to the 1/2 power. We square it, multiply it by 2. Now over here, you got to square that side too. Don't make that same dumb mistake. Don't call that x squared plus 25. Remember, that's x plus 5 times x plus 5. Okay? And when you work that out, remember, this is going to cancel out. I'm just going to get x plus 7 equals x times x is x squared. Plus 5x plus 5x is plus 10x. And 5 times 5 is plus 25. Okay? Alright, and then go back to solving quadratics. Remember, I want a positive here, so I'm going to leave that here. So I'm going to subtract the x over and subtract the 7 over. When I subtract the x, I get 9x's. When I subtract the 7 over, I get 18. And we can do the quadratic formula here. Are there factors of 18 that add up to 9? Yeah, 6 and 3. So x plus 3, x plus 6, or it's plus plus, so I'm going to get a plus plus. Set them both equal to 0. X is equal to negative 3, or x plus 6 equal to 0. Subtract the 6 over negative 6. Okay? Check for extraneous solutions here. Plug a negative 3 back in here. Or right here, negative 3 plus 7 is 4. Square root of 4 is 2. 2 minus 5 is negative 3, but we plugged in a negative 3, so that worked. So that's good. Plug in a negative 6 here. You get the square root. Negative 6 plus 7 is 1. The square root of 1 is 1. 1 minus 5 is negative 4. It's not negative 6. So this is an extraneous solution. So x equals negative 3 is our solution. Okay? We did the math right here, but when you plugged it back in, it didn't work. That's called extraneous solution. Okay? We've dealt with that in the past. And one more example, kicking it up another notch. We've got two radicals in here. So, but add this over. I'm going to isolate this one. Okay? So I'm going to get a positive square root of x plus that 1. And I'm going to do just what we've been doing. Once I've got it isolated, I'm going to square. But remember, I've got to square this one just like we did in the last problem. So I'm going to get 2x plus 1. And remember, this is the square root of x plus 1 times the square root of x plus 1. Square root of x times the square root of x is the square root of x squared, which is just x. Plus the square root of x plus the square root of x, so I get plus 2 square root of x. And then 1 times 1 is 1. Combine like terms. Okay? And I've got another square root in here, so I'm going to isolate that guy again. Okay? I subtract this x from 2x, I get x. I subtract that 1 from here, they cancel out. Divide the 2 out. So I get x over 2 equals the square root of x. You got it. Square it. So I get x squared plus 4. Remember, applying your property rules just like we talked about in the last section. Okay? Yep, you guessed it. I'm going to multiply that 4 up here. So I'm going to get x squared equals 4x. Subtract that over. And I'm going to do the same thing I would do in quadratics. It's not a trinomial, but it does have a greatest common factor. Set them both equal to 0, so x is 0. Or x minus 4 is 0, add it over, x is equal to 4. Okay? Check for extraneous solutions. If I plug a 0 in here, I get the square root of 1, which is 1, minus 0, 1 equals 1, it checks. Plug in a 4, I get 8 plus 1 is 9, the square root of 9 is 3, minus the square root of 4, so that's 3 minus 2, which is 1. They both check. Okay? So that's working with radicals there. You see, it can get a little long sometimes, only because I'm showing every step so I see everything in front of me. I'm not trying to remember half of this and look for shortcuts. Show it all out. Remember, we're trying to get the right answer here. It's not a race to the end. Show everything, okay? And you'll be good at it. All right, we'll work on this tomorrow when you get in here. See you then. Bye.